76ers. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
What's going on, everyone? This is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glasspool, and the Philadelphia 76ers last night beat the Charlotte Hornets again by 118 points to 101 points. Now, at the tail end of my last video, I mentioned how, because of the way in which we are scheduled in this COVID season, almost 72 game season, we will have these back-to-backs, and that means it almost be a bit of a playoff thing with little minor adjustments being made to ensure that the same mistakes don't happen again. But the Sixers did the same thing to the same level of excellency and won the game. And that's not because of any sort of shortcomings from the Charlotte Hornets, it's because we do what we do so well. Now, we'll dive into the game, of course, in just a moment, but I quickly want to touch upon Tobias Harris, who before the game was Eastern Conference Player of the Week. 100% deserved. He's just been fantastic, and, you know, long may it continue. But anyway, we'll get into it, and the first thing I want to talk about is defense. And I think when you see a score like this, you're like, oh, look at all these, these offensive nights these players had. You know, Maxey did well. Everyone got double figures in the starting five, and you think it's all about the offense, isn't it? No, this is all about the defense. And it has been for a while, but I think even myself has let it go under the radar. We are first in defensive rating in the league, first in blocks per game in the league, first in opponents' field goal percentage, that's the teams against us have the lowest field goal percentage. Tied second in opponents' 3 points made, again, the lowest. And we've got 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates. It shouldn't come as a shock that we're this good at defense, but I guess it is, and we're just doing everything correctly. And we know how good Simmons is, we know how good Embiid is, and we know how good Matisse is when he's playing. But what I've noticed is, again, we're going to talk about that man again, Tobias Harris. And look, you know, he had an incredible box score in the last game. I think it was 4 blocks, 3 steals, something along those lines. Today he didn't have that. He didn't have those defensive stats bolstering his his already great box score. But what he did have was just, he showed a lot of defensive nous that I haven't seen from the guy before. One that sticks to mind was PJ Washington was posting him up, and PJ Washington's got a few more extra pounds on him, a bit of muscle than Tobias Harris. And you thought, okay, this will be, a bit of a mismatch, and he'll just push him down and get the points. He didn't bite on the pump fakes, and when PJ Washington ended up facing up, Tobias Harris did a good contest, didn't go in, we got the other end, and restart our offense. And, it's just little things done well. It's nothing grand, it's not crazy chase down blocks or incredible late game steals that completely change the game. It's just the basics done well. And in previous videos, again, I've mentioned that we haven't been able to do the basics well over the last couple seasons, and it's so refreshing to see it now, especially with someone who, like Harris, who looked like he might be out the door, looked like his confidence was on the floor, and he's just doing great things on both ends of the court. And I do want to talk about him yet again. I will, there will be space to talk about other people, of course, but he just deserves all the praise in the world, Tobias. And people look at this improvement, and sometimes when the players improve and have little stints where they're doing fantastically well, it's not sustainable. When Shake Milton went off against the Clippers, he's not going to do that every game. It showed that he's a very good player, and we know he's a very good player, but he's not going to get 37 points and get 8 or 10 from 3 or something crazy like that. Tobias tonight he got 22 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Pretty solid box score. He's averaging at the moment 19 points, 8 rebounds, and about 3 assists or so. This is sustainable. He could average more. He could average 22 points, and this won't be hard for him to do. Everything he's doing is within the flow of the offense. He's putting up good threes. He's not chucking anything up. He's not getting too overconfident. He knows what he's good at, and he's still doing it well. He's going to the rim strong. He almost did another poster on Bismack Biyombo, almost a carbon copy, but he just, took it to the rack, got the layup in, but he didn't quite go for the full-on stuff like he did the first time around. But that's okay, as long as he's getting his points at a good, efficient clip. I think he was 10 of 16, 2 of 5 from 3, 40% from 3 yet again. That's all we want from the guy. And he's doing it, sometimes, again, we can be a bit apprehensive, because when people go on these streaks, this isn't going to last. It's, nice few games he's having, and it will go back to normal. This is entirely sustainable. This is completely sustainable, and I think he will sustain it. Doc's got a tune out of him. We know he can do that. We know Doc can do that with him from what he's done at the Clippers. Long may it continue. Ben Simmons, I thought this was his best game for us this season. Look, he didn't get a triple double. It's not the highest points total he's had, but I think he's found the balance perfectly in this game between being the facilitator, the great facilitator we know he can be, the one that's dishing out passes so that people can get their points, get their threes up. But he's also balancing that with I need to be aggressive and I need to get my own points. And look, he finished on, how did he finish on? 12, 10 and 6. So you might be thinking, well, hang on, how is he being so aggressive? He's got 12 points. Well, he took 13 shots, which, don't quote me on this, but I think it might be probably the most field goal attempts he's had this season. Look, he got 6 out of 13, just under 50%. That's not ideal. But let's be honest, Simmons is an above average field goal shooter because the nature of the shots he takes. A lot of the time they're close to the rim and he should be scoring the majority of them. When he's taking 13 shots, we can realistically expect that he'd make between 6 and 8 of them most games on average. He didn't get to the free throw line tonight. If he can just get, again, 4 to 5 trips a game, we want a bit more, but we just start there. Then all of a sudden he's averaging, 17, 18, along with his assists, along with his rebounds, which are still coming in great numbers, still coming in the flow of the offense, it's still not being forced. Then we're going to have a great time with him. People love to get on his back. I know I've been perhaps critical, but, I like the guy. I'm wearing his shirt. I've got his jersey over there. I do like the guy. And this, for me, was his best game of the season so far. We know what he brings on defense. He'll bring that week in, week out. Well, day in, day out, sorry. He'll bring it every game for the whole game. We don't need to worry about that. It's just the other side. And tonight, I think he got the balance perfect. So, Ben Simmons, just keep doing what you're doing. And more points will come. He'll become accustomed to how he's going to finish. He'll know what he wants to do most plays. And he got, I think I want to say he got 6 points in the first quarter alone. When other games he had 6 points at the half, maybe even less. So this was fantastic from him. Joel Embiid. People will look at his box score again, and he had 14 and 11. He had less minutes because we want to rest the guy. But people will look at a 14-11 as oh no, he's being lazy, he's chucking up shots, etc., etc. It's the old phrase goes. There is a lot more that goes beyond the box score that you need to watch the games to appreciate what he's doing. And one stat which I saw was that he's at a career best 2.5 turnovers a game. And that is working absolute wonder to this team. His passing out of the double team is exceptional. We've never seen anything like this before. The ball goes swinging around. And you won't get assists for these because when he's at the double team, it swings to the corner, 3, drops. He doesn't get the assist, but he might as well do because this is from him being patient. It's him calming himself, not being too temperamental, waiting for the right play to come to him, regardless what the defense are doing, because he knows that as long as he plays his game, he's going to be okay. And that's what he did. He played his game. He wasn't selfish. He did what he needed to do. He got to the free throw line. When the opportunity arose, he would back people down, get them fouled. Bismack Biyombo had a torrid time with him. I think it was McDaniels had a few altercations with him that he had to just grin and bear because Embiid's always going to dominate him. I think BJ Washington had to go to the 5 occasionally. Embiid will get his. And I think if the game was tighter, I think if we had to really go to him, and perhaps if the threes weren't falling, we might have to go to him more often and say, look, we got to need you in the post rather than you giving these passes away. But as long as the shots are dropping and they're falling to the right people, i.e. Danny Green and Seth Curry, who are fantastic yet again, then what have we got to worry about? He's just... I think people, like I said, people are going to be critical if they're not watching the game saying, oh, he only got 14 points. Because he didn't get over 20 points in either of these Charlotte games. He got 19 in the first, 14 in this one. He's doing so much more for this team that we've seen in previous years. Look, we know he can post people up. We know he can get to the line. But can he pass out a double team? Can he just calm himself? Can he reduce the number of turnovers? And he's doing that. And he's doing it perfectly, and it's helping this team win basketball games. And that is crucial. It's not about what his box score number is, it's about can he help this team win basketball games. Of course, as well, he was fantastic on the defensive end. I want to say he's got 2 steals, 3 blocks, somewhere along those lines. There was one point where he gets a steal, passes it to Ben behind the back, pass to Embiid, who just slams it in. Fantastic. Just beautiful fast break offense, but it's also just all came from having that switched on all the time to ensure that we can get the ball back as soon as possible on the defensive end. Seth Curry. I feel like I'm going around in circles with the amount of times I talk about this guy. 54% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. That's incredible. That's something we don't get those players in Philadelphia. We had JJ Redick, but even he hadn't been performing at this level. And the key difference, like I like JJ, but the key difference between him and Seth is that Seth can do stuff off the dribble. You know, JJ, you know, used to come around screens, dribble handoffs with Embiid, and just, you know, throw it up, almost, you know, catch and shoot. And there's nothing wrong with it. He did it. That's what he does. That's what he does so well. That's why he's still in the league at his age. But Seth just brings a whole new level of ability to the three-point shot, and he's got such a gravity to him. Well, you think he's got a gravity to him, but the gravity from Embiid and Simmons draws defenders away, so he's got all the space in the world to knock down shots. I am never worried when Seth Curry has a wide-open shot. It drops. It drops. It will always drop. He is fantastic. He's averaging 15.4 points, and I think a lot of people touted that before the season started he'd have a career year. He's on course to do that. He's on course to do that. He is playing incredibly well. 75% true shooting, you know, from the free throw line he's lights out. He's completely reliable in that sense. Danny Green also 13.6 assists, 3 rebounds. Everyone in the starting five was double figures. Danny Green again. People were like, oh look, he's washed, he's past it. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Danny Green showed that. He had 3 of 8 from the field. A crazy one towards the end of the second. He dribbled it up, top of the key, throws it up probably about just a yard in front of the line. Drains. He will be crucial for his team, and he's crucial on both ends. His defense is still fantastic. That hasn't wavered in his game. We expect him. He's not going to be the San Antonio Danny Green that we've seen before, but he is still a very good player and a very important piece for this team. So get off his back, basically. Tyrese Maxey off the bench. This was his breakout game. He just did everything you want from a backup point guard. He brings that energy. He's unafraid to go to the rim. He goes at such pace. And when you go, I mean, Al Abdenabi said, when you go at such pace, you expect to be out of control. But he's got such good control of himself and of the ball. And that's how he got his crazy and one in towards the fourth quarter. With that energy, he wants to go and defend. He wants to steal. He wants to go on fast breaks. And he stole it. And he put play of the game. He stole the ball in the half court, ran at the other end, slam dunk. Him and Dwight seem to be working quite well in the pick and roll, and as expected, you've got a great rim runner in Dwight, and you've got, you know, a true point guard in Maxey who can find Dwight easily enough. Alley-oop down for 2. Dwight just shy of a double-double, 9 of 13 this evening. Tyrese Maxey finished on 11 points, and you know, he's a steal at 21 at the 21st pick, and he's showing everyone that just, you know, a few more games, give him more time to bed into the league, understand the league, work on a few more things. He could be a really crucial rotation before we know it. I don't want to put too much pressure on the guy, but he's really showing us that he can do something for this team. Shake Milton, 10 points, 6 assists. What more do you expect from our sixth man, averaging 12 points this season? He's just going about his business perfectly. You hope sooner or later the 3-point percentage goes up, but he's just having a bit of a slump. We know what he is from 3. He's better, and he'll get better. Matisse, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. It's not dropping from 3 at the moment, but as long as he's unafraid to shoot, which sometimes he does look like he's a bit hesitant to pull the trigger, but other times less so. And I think he just needs someone to put his arm around him and say, "You are good at what you do. Just keep trying, and it'll get there soon enough for the kid." 2 steals as well, so he's always bringing that defensive intensity that which we know and love from the guy. Finally, when the game was done and dusted, you know, we bring the reserves in. Paul Reed got his first points. You know, he was the 59th pick in the draft. Hasn't really featured even in the garbage time minutes. And he gets his first points, and you look over to the bench, and everyone's going mental. And you just think that's just such a great embodiment of what this team is about this season. You know, imagine being Paul Reed, a young kid that's just come out of college, and then you score your first NBA points, and you've got Joel Embiid, an all-star, an all-NBA caliber player. You've got Ben Simmons, the same thing, all-star, all-NBA. You've got Dwight Howard, you know, former MVP candidate, former Defensive Player of the Year candidate, one of the best centers to play in the 21st century. Danny Green, title winner, serial title winner at 3 different teams. All of these people are going absolutely mental for you, a young kid scoring your first bucket. That must mean the world, and that's what this team is all about this year. It's just everyone seems to be coming together. There seems to be so much cohesion. You know, everyone's pulling in the same direction, and they all want the same thing, to win that title. Look, are we going to win it? Probably not, but we're going somewhere. This is the start of progression. It's the start of a new process, and we're looking so good. Look, it's the Hornets. We're 6-1 still, nonetheless, and we just look good, and it's fun. We got our team back. The ball movement is fantastic. We're playing good offensive ball. On the defensive end, we're solid, the best in the league so far. You know, why can't we have a bit of fun? Why can't we enjoy ourselves after what has been a pretty torrid 2 years? And, you know, we talk about these garbage time players, and I looked at the, you know, we talk about how, you know, and Embiid has it, there's good ball movement from Seth, from Ben, from Danny, from whoever. But, you know, what was such a breath of fresh air for me was that we had, you know, the bench players on. So I think we had Dakota Mathias, we had Isaiah Joe, we had Vincent Poirier, we had Paul Reed. I want to say it was still Tyrese Maxey on the floor as well. And they were moving the ball just like the first teamers do. Dakota Mathias got 8 points from 3 shots, I believe, two threes, and a layup. Could he be fighting to get into the rotations? Because whenever he does play, he seems to be scoring at a very efficient clip. Look, he's a bit more mature than all the other rookies. You know, he's 25 years old, but, you know, fair play to the kid. But anyway, you know, the ball movement was happening, and it emulated that of the first team, the starting 5. And the fact is that everything we do translates to every player in this organization. No one's off doing their own thing. Everyone's, like I said, pulling in the same direction. And again, that is so refreshing. So that we ended up swinging the ball around. Poirier swings it to Mathias. He drains the 3. Happy days. We end up winning the game. The Hornets, look, they tried, but we're just a very good team. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we are just a very, very good team. The Hornets aren't scrubs. They've beaten some big teams already this season. I want to say they've beaten the Nets. I want to say they've beaten the Hawks. They've beaten good teams, and we've just taken care of them professionally in 2 games, 2 back-to-backs, when it's arguably a bit more difficult because the adjustments can happen. Borrego can go back, look at the tape, and say, we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let this happen. We can exploit this. Undoubtedly he's gone and done that, but he still can't figure out how to beat this Philadelphia 76ers team, and that bodes extremely well for us. Look, we've rested Embiid, as I alluded to before. He only got 14 points, but the reason we're doing this is we've got a really tough run of games coming, and this is, you know, season defining might be a bit dramatic, but this really lets us know where we are. Are we what we think we are? Look, because at the end of the day, we've beaten teams we should have beaten. That's the fact of the matter. We've done it really well, and we've done it, you know, to a point where we look extremely convincing as a team. We look like we're the real deal. But will we be the real deal after we play the Nets? You know, KD won't be playing, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But you know, you want to play against the best players. You want to properly understand how good you are by gauging yourself against these players. But he won't be playing, unfortunately. We've got the Nuggets. That'll be fun. You know, I've said before, Embiid should be licking his lips and wanting to really go at Jokic, really prove a point. We got the Hawks. They just lost to the Knicks, but you know, they're fantastic on offense, and we've got to make sure that we shut them down. That'll be a good defensive test for us. If we can keep them below 110 or 100, that really indicates to me that this defense is the real deal. Then we got the Heat in 2 games towards the tail end of this run. There's a lot of tests here, but there's a lot of, we go in with the most momentum out of all those teams. We got the most confidence out of all those teams. There's no reason why we can't win these games. We just got to make sure we win them. We can't think, oh, we've done what we have in the past. We've won our 6 games and only lost 1. We'll be okay. No. You know, the NBA doesn't work like that. They know it doesn't work like that. Doc knows it doesn't work like that. We're going to work on what we need to work on, because some stuff still does need to be work on. The transition defense, still, I talked about how good the defense was, but the transition defense for myself, too many easy looks still happening from them. And with the players we have, with their ability to move and the quickness, they should be getting back quicker. That's essentially the way I see it. Pick and roll defense occasionally can be a bit iffy. There's always stuff to work on. We're not a perfect team, nowhere near. There's always stuff to work on. We'll work on it, and then we'll go to the next game and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's the end of this video. It's overwhelmingly a positive one. That was such a fun game to watch. It's such a breath of fresh air. We've got our Sixers back. Long may it continue. Tests are going to come thick and fast in the next week or so, but I think we're ready for them, and we're just going to have to see how we perform. Anyway, have a good evening, guys. See you later.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.